Hey, welcome back to our Achievement Hunter series aimed at exploring the Barrens gameplay achievements. Previous guides have ventured through all the class achievements from the Barrens and included the Hunter through Demon Hunter Wailing Caverns achievements, but this time we're conquering the rest of the Wailing Caverns mini-set achievements. Let's get into it. This should be interesting. For today's video, we're covering the following 9 achievements from the Wailing Caverns mini-set. Don't move a muscle, calling on us to freeze 75 characters with elementals. Friends like me, with the second stage being to summon 4 of the same adventurer with a single party up. Even Steven, hiring us to eliminate 10 minions with a single against all odds. Hiding in plain sight, enticing us to give 30 minions stealth with Shroud of Concealment, as well as Spit Hot Fire, invoking us to destroy 75 enemy minions with Perpetual Flame. We're also doing It's My Life Mom, luring us into spending 100 health on Warlock cards. Kresh Got Back, for us to attack 60 times with Turtle Spikes. Adventure is out there, inspiring us to summon 100 adventurers, and Hungry Murloc, encouraging us to eat 20 minions with Mutanus the Devourer that are 4/4 or larger. As noted, the Hunter, Druid, and Demon Hunter achievements from the mini-set were already covered during their class achievement guides, so check the links in the description if you're after one of those. Now, since none of these requires us to win games to complete, we can wade through these with decks that deviate from the norm if it makes things more interesting or efficient. There are timestamps for each achievement and deck codes for each deck mentioned in the description below if you'd like to skip to one you're looking for. Now, let's go on an adventure to overcome these achievements. Let's do something unusual. We're actually going to go mostly in order for these achievements, meaning we're starting off with Mage. Their achievement for the Wailing Caverns is Don't Move a Muscle. For this one, you just have to freeze 75 characters, which can include the opponent's face. The catch? You have to do it with elementals. Fortunately, we did get Frostweave Dungeoneer in the mini-set to make this a little easier. Alongside Rhyme Tongue and Oasis Ally, there are a couple options for mages to summon elementals, which freeze in standard. However, before we dive into the decks, I should note that this does not require you to be Mage to knock this out, meaning that Glacial Shard, Frost Elemental, and even Hailbringer in Wild could be used in any class to knock this out. And since Glacial Shard is so cheap, it'd be possible to bounce it easily in Rogue, or play a bunch of copies of it alongside Glinda Crowskin in Warlock. Sadly, we'll only be introducing 2 decks per achievement since we don't want a 40-minute guide, but there are quite a few different options you can try out. The first deck we're introducing is this Elements of an Icy Hero Mage, for those of you who prefer to knock this out in standard. The Wild deck will be more efficient, but with Deep Freeze, Oasis Ally, and Frostweave Dungeoneer, it's still possible to get a decent amount of progress each game. We did include Wildfires in the deck to support the hero power package in the deck, but all the other spells are frost spells, meaning there's a 12 in 14 chance of summoning frosted elementals with Frostweave Dungeoneer. The deck was pretty fun to play as an elemental heavy variant of Freeze Mage, and we had above a 50% win rate across the few games we played with it, so you most likely won't tank your rank going after this one. But if you want a deck that can knock this out really quickly, we'd recommend this Chill Out Elemental Mage in Wild. It runs an absurd number of elementals, including each of the neutral freezing elementals mentioned earlier, alongside elemental allies to help cycle through the deck a little faster. While I don't think Ice Walker's effect counts towards the achievement, it does join this deck as one more tool to help us stall till we can get the ultimate freezing elemental generator, Frostlit Jaina. In games where you can make it to Jaina, you can get a ridiculous amount of progress towards this achievement really quickly. Good luck forcing your opponents to chill out a bit. Now on to Paladin. last expansion, we had Yogchamp as an RNG-dependent achievement for Paladins. And this time, we get Friends Like Me. Why Blizzard insists on including achievements which rely entirely on RNG after a fair bit of setup is beyond me. But it is what it is. The first stage, where you have to summon 3 of the same adventurer, isn't all that difficult to do if you just play Party Up a number of times as you're working towards the neutral achievement we'll cover in a moment. But the chances of getting 4 of the same adventurer from a single Party Up is somewhere around 0.88%, meaning that on average, you'll have to play Party Up more than 100 times to get this. As I have exceptional luck with RNG, I've played this card more than 150 times, and I have yet to get this one. Now, if you have the luck of the gods, you could actually get this achievement the very first time you play Party Up. If you do, please send me some of your luck. Anyways, if you're serious about playing Party Up enough times to knock this out, Wild will open some more efficient options. But this Elekks Commence Partying Paladin in Standard is also an interesting way to come at it. This is a commencement paladin with some sizable dragons as a payoff for playing no other minions and cheating them out with commencement. Is what I'd say if we weren't also running educated Elekks to help shuffle additional copies of Party Up into the deck. You could drop the Elekks for another big minion or 2, but then you'd only get to play a maximum of 2 copies per game. Still, Party Up does fit nicely into this archetype as an alternative pressure or stall to pair with the commencement package. Even with so many aggro decks running around, the Secret, Barricade, and Consecration tools often buy enough time to drop the Hammer of the Naru and begin the swing with Party Up or commencement. It still doesn't reach a 50% win rate. We had a 35% win rate across 34 games, with a priority on playing Party Up, but it is a fun way to grind away at this. However, a deck that's much more efficient at playing Party Up quickly and strong enough to win more than 50% of games in Wild is this Prismatic Party Paladin. The only spells in the deck are Prismatic Lens and Party Up, so you can pull the Party Up from your deck more consistently. Oftentimes getting to play it cheaper since all of the minions in the deck are 5 mana or less. There are Elekks in this version too, so you can play even more copies of Party Up per game. We currently have a 54% win rate across 54 games, so it is possible to climb while testing your RNG. Now, if you're like me and looking for a way to force this to go even faster, you may be wondering if keeping 2 adventurers of the same type on the board and then playing another copy of Party Up to summon the 4th copy on the board will work. Great idea, and it'd be really nice if that were the case, but as you can see here, we didn't get the achievement when we did exactly that. Editing Alchemist here. So it turns out I finally was able to knock out this achievement after another 8 games with this deck, putting the final win rate at 56% across 62 games. So it is possible, even for someone with stupidly bad RNG. Okay, now back to your previously scheduled guide. So I wish you the best of luck at the casino. May the RNG be ever in your favor. So if you go after the Paladin Party Up achievement we just covered with any persistence at all, you'll knock out the Adventure is Out There achievement very quickly, because Party Up is your friend for this one. I'd recommend playing one of the 2 decks we introduced moments ago for this one. However, if you loathe Paladin or something else is keeping you from doing this with one of those decks, an interesting deck you could play to knock this out relatively quickly is this Egg Warlock from Chump, which we substituted Meeting Stones in place of the Tour Guides. The Tour Guides were great, but every other card felt more vital to the deck, and we wanted the maximum number of Adventurer generators possible. With Final Gasp and Devouring Ectoplasm and the improved likelihood of Meeting Stones surviving a turn or 2 extra, due to the buffs in the deck and higher threat targets drawing the opponent's attention, it's possible to summon a few adventurers each game before chewing your opponent's face off. Enjoy the free XP. Next up is Priest, Unlike most of the other achievements, even Steven can be knocked out extremely quickly with the right setup. All we have to do is kill 10 minions with a single against all odds, and our friend Mad Summoner in Wild is happy to help us do it quickly and easily. To knock this one out, we play this Do You Even Control Priest. In order to play Mad Summoner and Against All Odds on the same turn, you will need to discount one of them with either Emperor Thaurissan or Palm Reading. But once you've done that, all you have to do is survive long enough to play the two cards together. And if your opponent has already flooded the board with even attack minions, which you can't Psychic Scream away, Wave of Apathy will complete the setup to ensure you clear at least 10 minions. Now, that's the easy way to pull this off in Wild. But if you really want to complete this in Standard, you can pull off the achievement with this so very odd Priest deck, which runs only odd attack minions alongside Wave of Apathy as a way to set up your Against All Odds to clear. Sneaky Delinquent can help you stick a minion to the board even as your opponent is filling their side. And if you've played out a 1, 2, and 3 cost minion over the course of the game, Rally will give you 3 targets to die alongside the opponent's board. It's a bit more challenging to set up than in Wild, but it's entirely possible to complete in Standard as well. Have fun overcoming the odds. The mini set achievement for Rogues is Hiding in Plain Sight. For this one, you just have to play Shroud of Concealment and play out the minions you drew on the same turn. Easy. And even faster if you include our favorite standard achievement enabler, Educated Elekks. The deck we recommend for knocking out this achievement is our Shroud of Elekks Rogue. All the minions except Kazakus and Jandis are 3 mana or less, meaning you'll be able to play both minions for sure if you've got 9 mana or more. Of course, Efficient Octobot, Tenwu, and sometimes even Foxy Fraud can facilitate playing Concealment and both minions earlier. With Swindle to draw the Shroud from your deck, extra copies possible with Educated Elekks, and the ridiculous amount of card draw in the deck, you can knock this achievement out very rapidly. But our win rate with that deck was 43% across the 7 games it took to complete this achievement. If you'd like a deck with a higher win rate, this Secret Shroud Rogue from HS Replay is touting a 53% win rate. And Alexstrasza is the only extra minion above 3 mana. It doesn't have Educated Elekks or as high a minion density as Shroud of Elekks to ensure you knock it out fast, but the win rate is higher, and you get to play around with secret trees with help from Hanar. However you go after this, you'll likely master the skill of hiding in plain sight quite quickly. Next up, we're going to go ahead and cover the other neutral achievement, Hungry Hungry Murloc. Mutanus already makes the cut in a number of decks, so many of you will probably complete this without focusing it down. But we're putting this achievement here because both decks we've built to knock this out in a targeted way are rogue decks. Now, before we head into the decks, a quick note for those of you without Mutanus in your collection. It is possible to draft him in Arena, but he didn't show up on the list of options for duels buckets on the Hearthstone wiki, so this will be quite challenging to complete if you don't own a copy. It should be possible to generate him from Underbelly Angler in Wild, but randomly generating him, playing him, and eating a 4/4 or larger minion 20 times is quite the hurdle, so I wouldn't recommend going that route. But if you do have him, the standard deck we're recommending is the first deck we highlighted after the mini set came out, Mutanus Menagerie Rogue. There's a link to the highlight video up above if you want to check it out. It uses the draw package of Miracle Rogue as a shell so you can get to Mutanus quickly, and Shadow Steps as well as Tenwu to bounce Mutanus for multiple meals. However, what's really fun about this deck is that if your opponent killed your Mutanus before you bounced him, you can bring Mutanus back with N'Zoth and Shadow Step him to prepare for additional feasting. And honestly, Menagerie Rogue is a fun archetype to explore. We had a 67% win rate across 12 games, but that was all fairly soon after the mini set arrived, so I'm not sure how it'll hold up in the current meta. but it should still do decently well while devouring your opponent's resources. And in Wild, there are quite a few more options to get extra shots at eating large minions from your opponent. But the one we're most excited to highlight is this deck, the Nightmare Devourer Rogue. Mutanus loves nightmares, and Rogue's Galakrond is a nightmare. Anyways, this deck uses the Galakrond and Hearthstone package to cycle through and discount cards from the deck so that we can draw Mutanus quickly. Or we can draw and discount the extra copies we shuffle into the deck using Togwaggle Scheme and Lab Recruiter. Alongside Bran Bronzebeard and Shadowstep, it won't take long to devour every minion from your opponent's hand. You just have to hope the opponent's draw cards and minions in hand are large enough to keep up with Mutanus' appetite. Sapping a big minion from the board for Mutanus to eat is also a delectably evil way to feed him. Valeera is in the deck as an emergency way to dodge damage and get extra shuffle cards to use on Mutanus, even though she replaces Galakrond. She's not vital to the deck, but she's a fun inclusion. Have fun devouring your opponent's dreams. Let's get back to the class achievements with Shaman and Spit Hot Fire. For this one, we just have to destroy 75 enemy minions with Perpetual Flame. Considering that it casts itself repeatedly on the same turn, with the right board state, this won't be too difficult. However, since the targeting order is random, it can be a bit challenging to set up the board just right that a 3 damage chain clears the board. Fortunately, cards like Moarg Artificer are a cheap way to make Perpetual Flame much more impactful. And that's why Moarg made the cut in our Perpetual Protection Shaman deck. This deck also runs Diligent Note Taker so that we can guarantee additional copies of Perpetual Flame alongside those generated by Wandmaker, Venomous Scorpid, and even Instructor Fireheart. We had a 58% win rate across 19 games with this, so it's a decently strong alternate way to play Shaman while getting progress towards this achievement. If you'd like to see the deck in action, we've got a highlight video linked above and in the description, which you can check out. It was especially exciting when we killed 14 enemy minions with a single flame. But if you'd like to knock this out really quickly and don't care about your win rate, this Mad Flames deck by Nicklink uses Mad Summoner in Wild as a way to practically guarantee 7 enemy minions die when you play Perpetual Flame. The rest of the deck is full of draw and control tools to keep you alive long enough to set up a Summoner Flame turn. Since Wild is so aggressive, many minions won't have over 3 health, but Devolve, Lightning Storm, or the spell damage from Thalnos or Phoenix can improve your chances of a full clear on minions the opponent has played out instead. If you manage 2 Summoner Flame combos per game, theoretically, it would only take 6 games to knock this out. Enjoy your time spitting hot fire. Next up, we have an achievement for Warlocks to do what they do best: hurt themselves. Ugh. It's My Life Mom requires that we spend 100 health on Warlock cards. This one was definitely made to pair with Stealer of Souls. I initially overlooked the fact that it said Warlock cards, so I thought G'huun the Blood God would work, but he'd only help with this if you happen to draw the dual class cards which cost mana. So Flesh Giant, Disciplinarian Gandling, and Brittlebone Destroyer. An interesting idea, but not one we'd recommend due to the unreliability. If you played Stealer of Souls in Wild before it was banned, you may have knocked this one out quite quickly, since the decks there were absurdly strong. But since it's been banned, you'll have to take this down in Standard, or play with cards like Sea Devil Stinger, Bloodbloom, and Cho'Gall. In Standard, one of the most fun decks we've played to knock this out is this Big Stealer Warlock from Regis Kilbin. If you play Tour Guide and Demonic Studies in your first couple turns, it's possible to tap alongside Stealer of Souls on turn 3, meaning you could play Jaraxxus or Alexstrasza on turn 3 and get 9 progress towards this. Well, if you have the luck of the gods with your card draw, that is. But generally, this is just a fun and reliable way to get relatively quick progress towards the achievement, while occasionally making ridiculously strong plays much earlier than otherwise possible. I definitely recommend giving it a spin if you have the cards. And over in Wild, as mentioned, you're limited to Bloodbloom, Sea Devil Stinger, and Cho'Gall. That's why we crammed all three of them into this bloody painful Warlock deck. Mutanus and Corrupted Seer are both high-cost Murlocs with decent impact to get progress with Sea Devil Stinger, and Twisting Nether is really high value for Cho'Gall or Bloodbloom. Sadly, paying for cards with your health doesn't upgrade the Amethyst Spellstone, but it still made the cut alongside other control and healing tools because you'll want all the healing you can get to stay alive long enough to spill enough blood for this achievement. In our first game with this deck against a priest, we spent 33 health on cards. But something I just realized when making this guide is that the neutral Murlocs won't count since they're not Warlock cards. So playing Sea Devil Stinger into Sea Devil Stinger into one of the other Murlocs will get you quite the board presence for just 4 mana, but you'll just get 4 progress towards the achievement. So Bloodbloom and Cho'Gall are your best friends for this in Wild. Good luck stealing souls and making everyone bleed. And now we come to the final achievement from the mini set, Kresh Got Back. Since Kresh's weapon has 5 charges, and you can summon additional copies of him with Overlord Sourfang and N'Zoth in matchups which go long enough after drawing him, it would theoretically be possible to get 15 progress towards this in a single game. That rarely works out, but it's still not terribly difficult as long as you have Kresh in your collection. Sadly, just like Mutanus, Kresh isn't showing up as an option in Duels buckets on Hearthstone Wiki, so getting him there won't be reliable. And it would likely take quite a few arena drafts to get him there. You're probably better off spending 2,000 gold on the mini set than paying the arena entry fee a bunch of times, unless you're an expert at arena. And I can't come up with a reliable way to generate him, so if he's not in your collection, you may want to give this achievement a pass. But if you do have him, this Rush to Kresh warrior deck was the fun way we used to knock this achievement out pretty quickly after the mini set launched. It uses a Menagerie Rush warrior shell to buy time to draw and play Kresh, but instead of ETC and Parade Leader to push out damage, it uses Kresh's Turtle Spike with a few buffs from Nitro Boost Poison. Is that as good as regular Rush Warrior, which just includes a copy of Kresh? No. It doesn't have as high a win rate, but it is a lot of fun. However, although we're not going to highlight it specifically, we will include the deck code in the description for a decently strong build from HS Replay, which includes Kresh, N'Zoth, and Sourfang for a higher win rate alternative you can try out. Now, one of the major issues with decks in Standard hunting down this achievement is Kresh's propensity for hiding at the bottom of our deck. While there's not a reliable way to pull him from our deck in Standard, there are ways to improve the consistency of him joining our hand in Wild. This Curated Kresh Warrior 2.0 was built with that in mind. The Curator will pull Kresh from the deck, and Ringmaster Watley will pull the Curator into our hand, meaning including Kresh himself, we have 3 cards, instead of just 1, to improve the chances of getting Kresh onto the board faster and allow us to swing at least 5 times, if not 15 with help from N'Zoth and Sourfang. The win rate was not exciting, and there are a few more transformation effects in Wild which will still wreck your dreams, but you can get Kresh in hand much more consistently, so you get to choose which route you prefer going after for great value with Kresh's spikes. Good luck with whichever path you go down. And that's a wrap. If you found this helpful, drop a like. Your selfless act of approval of this video will send the YouTube algorithm wailing towards other hunters looking to capture these achievements as well. Now, we've explored all the class achievements and the mini set achievements from Forged in the Barrens. so all that remains are the neutral achievements. Hopefully our guide for those will come out in time to actually help before the next set comes out. Anyways, there are links in the description to previous guides and the next set coming soon, so be sure to check back or subscribe because we've got a savory delight of fun content coming soon. Also, if you have any questions or suggestions, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy participating in experiments live, check out our stream at twitch.tv/SSAlchemist. We currently stream on Saturdays and Sundays. And remember, you're awesome. Thank you for watching and have an awesome day.
Strength and honor. This is who we are.